No replies, and my spidey sense is tingling. The foundation has cracked and we haven't even started to build. This is the moment I realise that my dream home might be falling apart before it even starts. Stick around. This is not going to be pretty, much like myself. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Foreign Guy and the Barren Guy, your favourite British bloke who seems determined to develop an ulcer by attempting to build a house from 7,000 miles away in the Philippines. Today's episode is not the upbeat, cheerful, look at my rocking chair and beer fridge combo kind of update I hope to be making. No. Today's episode is more, am I losing my mind? Is my architect still alive? Should I abandon the whole thing, shave my head, move to Thailand and become a monk? Because right now, I feel like I'm standing on the edge of this massive, exciting project, money ready to go, plans drawn, mostly, timeline agreed, flights booked so that I can go and video everything, accommodation reserved. Even the camera batteries have all been charged. And instead of being able to take that confident step forward, or even that step forward confidently, I'm stuck staring at my phone like a heartbroken teenager who can't understand why his crush isn't texting him back. Part 1. Everything is ready except communication. So let's begin with the facts, because the situation is actually very straightforward. We've got the land, we've got the design, we've got the money sitting ready to transfer. Well, it's not just ready, it's eager. There's money. Well, our money is practically wagging its tail. It's no longer earning interest, but it's interested in being transferred. We've got a construction plan that covers everything for phase 1. Well, kind of. The foundation layout has been designed, kind of. The excavations have been planned, kind of. There's a septic system which as yet has not been changed, water catchment tanks which remain the same, retaining walls which I gather have been designed, and the ground preparation which has been organised. And the big one, of course, the slab on which we will stand. Everything from the dirt to the floor you walk on is planned and agreed, and in theory we're ready to break ground. The architect told me that construction is scheduled for the first week of January. We discussed it. We aligned on it. We nodded at each other across the universe digitally and said, yes, that's the plan. And as far as I know, it still is the plan. Or it might be the plan. Or it might once have been the plan. It's very hard to say because I can't get a response. No calls. No WhatsApps. No texts. Nothing. Just crickets and tumbleweed. As Yoda would say, the silence is strong with this one. Part 2. The Great Building Permit Mystery. Now, let's talk about the building permit, because this is where things get murky. I believe it's been applied for. I think the paperwork is in progress. I hope the process is moving along. But do I have confirmation? Absolutely not. And this is the sort of thing you really want confirmation on, particularly being as I have spent £4,000 on flights for us to be in the Philippines during March to record the progress of the build. And as I'm self-employed, that's an entire month when I won't be earning money either, just spending it like water. Please subscribe. It's not like asking someone whether they've watered the plants for you. Having a building permit is a legal requirement. It's a timeline defining step. And without it, the build cannot begin. And if it cannot begin, the whole reason for me to be there in March is no longer valid and a complete waste of money. The building permit is the thing that decides whether you're building on schedule or sitting in the UK in February rocking back and forth, muttering it'll happen any day now. And flying to the Philippines and arranging everything in my absence from the UK isn't like jumping on a bus to town. You'd expect that the moment the permit application is submitted, someone would have sent a quick message, maybe even thrown in an emoji, a little thumbs up, a smile, a construction helmet, something reassuring. But no. Radio silence has been maintained. Escapees from prisons are more chatty than this bloke. If I got a message right now that said, simply, applied, just that, a single word, I'd be absolutely thrilled. I might even frame it. Part 3, the ghosting phase. So here's the real problem. The silence. We're not talking about slower responses. We're not talking about occasional delays. We're talking about total, complete, baffling silence. And it's been long enough now that I'm not sure whether this is normal or cultural or accidental or personal or professional or just something else entirely. And this is when the internal dialogue begins. You know the one. Has he changed his mind? Did I unknowingly insult him? Did my polite British tone come across as passive-aggressive? Did one of my questions offend the sacred art of construction scheduling? Did he get a better client? Someone who doesn't ask about rebar spacing? Did I accidentally become the difficult foreigner? This is the thing when you're dealing with someone in another country, from another culture, and in another industry. You don't know what rules apply. And the inability to know is the killer. Part 4. Am I being impatient? And this is the moment in the story where I'm trying to be fair and balanced, because I'm not entirely unaware of the differences between British culture and Filipino culture. I'm married to a Filipina, after all. I know all about tempo. In the UK, if you don't reply in a few hours, someone assumes you've died. We are a nation of apologisers. We will say sorry when someone else bumps into us, not looking where they're going, coming out of the shop. You've seen it happen. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the approach to time and communication can be, let's say, more relaxed. Not wrong, not bad, just different. But here's the thing. During the design phase of our project, communication was excellent, prompt. For saying there's an 8-hour or 7-hour time difference, responsive, efficient, answers to questions, good clarifications, updates, drawing sent, everything was smooth. So the contrast between rapid responses during the design phase and silence during the construction ready phase is what makes this situation feel off. Now, am I being paranoid to think that? To think that something has changed? To think that the tone has changed? To think that the frequency has changed? To think that the dynamic has changed? And because there's no communication, I can't interpret why. Part 5. The spidey sense factor. You know that feeling you get when something just isn't right? The faint, nagging sensation that doesn't have direct evidence, but has enough context to make you uneasy. Well, right now, my spidey sense is tingling like crazy. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't simply a case of someone being busy. This feels like a breakdown, a complete disconnect, a shift in the relationship between myself and my architect. It's like something structural and not accidental has happened. And the longer I wait with no reply, the more my brain suggests unpleasant possibilities. Maybe he's overwhelmed. Maybe he's double booked. Maybe the project no longer interests him. Maybe the profit margin isn't going to be enough for him. And maybe he's having personal issues. Maybe he's ill. Maybe it's a cultural clash. Maybe he's annoyed with me. Maybe he's just avoiding a conversation. Or, and this is the big one, maybe the trust that should anchor the builder-client relationship has quietly evaporated. And if that's the case, then I'm in trouble. Part 6, the consequences of silence and why this matters so much. This isn't just inconvenient. It's not just annoying. This affects the entire project. If communication is broken now, at the very start, what happens later? When concrete is being poured, when trenches are being dug, when materials are being ordered, when decisions need to be made on site. If someone won't answer you before construction starts, what are the odds that they're going to answer you during the construction phase? Because once work begins, everything becomes time sensitive and errors cost money. Delays cost money. Miscommunications cost money. So silence now isn't just silence. It's definitely not golden. It's an omen.
Hello, please subscribe to Barangay in the Barangay.
Oh, fantastic. And part 7. Should I cut and run? Option 1. Let's explore a few possible pathways because at this point I have decisions to make. Option 1. Cut and run. The pros: I stop the stress immediately. I avoid building with someone who is unresponsive. I can find an architect builder who values communication more. I protect myself from future headaches. The cons: I lose all the progress we've made so far. I have to start again, a new builder, a new relationship, a new timeline. There could be delays of months, maybe longer, and that may take us into the wet season, because the January construction window would be gone. And the biggest consideration: if this silence is temporary and innocent, cutting ties could be a massive overreaction. And there's also the possibility, of course, that this is normal behaviour for Filipinos and that the new relationship could turn out to be equally dysfunctional. Part 8, wait and hope. Option 2. So option 2 is to stay patient and wait for a reply. The pros of that is that there would be, possibly, no disruption to the plan, and January might still be achievable, bearing in mind it's 7 weeks away, and that the architect might suddenly reply with a perfectly reasonable explanation. The cons to this: I sit here refreshing WhatsApp like a lunatic. I risk further delays. I risk getting trapped in a pattern of non-communication, and I continue with a builder who I cannot currently rely upon. Waiting is the easiest path emotionally, but it's also possibly the costliest action long term. Part 9. Escalate professionally. Option 3. So option 3. Escalate through polite but firm channels. And this would mean calling their office landline, contacting the engineer, messaging his assistant, using email instead of WhatsApp. Visiting the municipal office to check the permit status. Obviously, I would need somebody to be local for that. The pros of that: I would get clarity. I would find out whether the issue is personal, technical, or practical. And I would demonstrate seriousness without being confrontational. The cons of it: if he is avoiding me deliberately, this would force a confrontation. If he's abandoned the project mentally, it ain't going to fix that. And if communication didn't exist before, forcing it may not rebuild trust. But this option has the advantage of giving you actual information. Option 4, seeking a second opinion. So option 4 would be to quietly consult another builder architect, which is kind of underway already. Not to replace him immediately, but just to check the permit status and establish typical timelines and establish responsiveness expectations, and whether or not your gut feeling is justified as to whether the project is sound and ready. The pros of this is that I would get professional reassurance. I would get a backup option. I would reduce panic and uncertainty. And I would gather information without necessarily burning bridges. The cons of it, of course, are that other builders might try to poach the project, and that I risk my current architect finding out and reacting negatively, and who wouldn't? And it also adds a layer of complexity to the whole project. But knowledge, especially in the Philippines, is power. And option 5, storm the gates. Option 5 would be fly to Bohol early and address it face to face. The pros, the advantages: nothing beats in-person communication. I could actually check the permit. I could visit the architect's office, and I could show that I'm serious and involved, and I eliminate any misunderstandings. Cons on the other side: assuming I get to see the architect if I went, because if he's far too busy, what else could it be? The cons: it's expensive. It's a couple of £1,000 plus time off work. It's disruptive. It might not even be necessary. And honestly, if someone only communicates with you when you physically fly across the world, that says a lot, doesn't it? So, part 12, the cultural reality check. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Is this just how things work in the Philippines? Well, the honest answer is, of course, as everything in the Philippines, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Some professionals in the Philippines communicate brilliantly. Some don't. Some respond immediately. Some vanish for days. Some are proactive. Some need prompting. Some are extremely organised. Some operate on a mañana philosophy, meaning we'll get round to it later. It's not universal. It's not predictable. It varies massively from person to person, and so the silence might not be unusual, but it still might be unacceptable, because cultural norms are one thing, but trust, reliability and respect are entirely another. Well, there are another 3 things actually. Part 13, the real question: has trust broken down? At the core of all of this is one vital question: do I trust this architect? Not did I trust him before, not is he a nice person because he's a lovely bloke, and not did we have good communication earlier, which we did, not will this be okay if I wait long enough. The question is, do I trust him right now? Because he will be building me the house in which I hope to spend the rest of my life. And it will belong to my wife, whom I'm desperate to ensure has a comfortable life once I've shuffled off this mortal coil and joined the choir invisible. It's something of huge relevance to me, and my finances are such that I'm going to have one shot at this, and it needs to be right. So subscribe. So will the house be built with one specific and vital ingredient? Trust. Trust that the work is being done correctly. Trust that materials are being ordered responsibly. Trust that the site is being supervised. Trust that decisions are communicated. Trust that issues are raised early. And trust that updates are provided. And trust that my money is handled properly. And of course, trust that timelines are honoured. Right now, I'm sorry to say I don't have that trust. Not because anything has gone wrong, not because any mistake has been discovered, not because of conflict, but simply because the silence is so deep, so long, and so previously uncharacteristic that my trust has been shaken. So, part 14. Where do I go from here? This is the fork in the road. So here we are, standing at a fork in the road, and the choices, as far as I can establish, are threefold. Path 1, continue as planned and assume that this is normal. Assume that it's a temporary communication hiccup. Wait patiently, hope for the best, and preserve harmony by doing nothing. Preserve the timeline by doing nothing. And preserve the current builder, which would require me to silence my intuition. And it requires trust that I don't currently have. It also carries the highest long-term risk. Path 2. Seek clarity and accountability. Take decisive action. Escalate politely. Request confirmation of the permit. Request a written schedule of works. Request communication boundaries, for example, weekly phone calls, a weekly update. Test their professionalism. This path strengthens the project if the architect is still committed, and it reveals the truth if he's not. This path is uncomfortable, but it's the only path that produces certainty. Path 3, which will be to reset the relationship or replace it entirely. If trust is broken beyond repair, and if communication never improves, if the silence continues, then I have a choice to make, and that choice must be self-preservation. Yes, it would delay the build. Yes, it would mean re-evaluating everything. And yes, it's not what I hoped for. But sometimes the cost of staying on a sinking ship is far greater than the cost of swimming to shore. Part 15. My current thoughts. Right now, I'm torn. Part of me wants to believe this is nothing, that he's busy, that he's overwhelmed, that things are happening quietly in the background. Another part of me feels this gnawing certainty that something is wrong. Not in a dramatic way, not in a catastrophic way, but in the subtle way where the absence of communication itself becomes the message. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I don't think I'm asking too much. A simple message would fix all of this. But the absence of that message, I have to think carefully about the path ahead. This is not the way I want to be treated. So, where do we go from here? Because that's where things stand at the moment. It's not anger, it's disappointment. It's not drama, it's real life. It's not panic, but it is worry. it's unease, it's uncertainty, and it's the recognition that trust is not something you can fake. I'm going to keep trying to reach him. I'm going to ring on a daily basis. I'm going to keep exploring alternative options, and I will keep you updated, because this is the side of the building in the Philippines that nobody shows you. The excitement, the frustration, the cultural nuance, the risk, the doubt, the hope, and the reality of trying to build your dream from 7,000 miles away. Thanks for watching. Send patience. Send luck. I think I'm going to need it. By my next update, which is probably 1 week or two, we're going to be close to Christmas, and if the situation hasn't been resolved with this architect stroke contractor by then, I think it's going to be time to change everything. Nothing said it would be easy. Nobody did. And I'm not the kind of fella to take no reply for an answer. If you watched this far, you might as well click on the like button. If you want to know more about the project, please help by subscribing. We're close to 10,000 of you, so join the gang. And if you have advice, suggestions, recommendations, the name of a good therapist, or interesting Yoda quotes that might help me, please leave them in the comment section below. This was, and remains, the foreign guy in the barangay. Thanks for watching. God bless. Speak soon.